Just recently, I started noticing how important the school was to my life, but how useless, at the same time, how useless it was. Because I think school has only three positive points, only three positive things. So in school, the first one I would say is you build up discipline. Okay, everyone can agree on that you build up discipline when you go to school to actually learn. Because having to follow the deadlines and everything, you just end up building more discipline, being like, I have to do this. I want to watch this video. I will just do my homework or just study for the exam. So you end up building more discipline. Everyone can agree on that. The second thing I think is really useful that it basically forces you to communicate with people. I don't think school is only good because of that, but if you're still going to school, one thing that I would recommend is start practicing your social skills on people there. Because when you're an adult, you just probably meet people, I don't know, at the work or when you go out, but you won't have the same relationship. So with those people in school, you just read a book of social skills and I don't know, get one or two rules that I think are important, and just apply them on the school. I think that's a really good thing you can do, but that's not related to the video that I'm doing now. The third thing that I think is the most important one, and definitely the most important thing, is that you learn how to learn in school. You probably learn every day, every day in the school. Now, obviously, there are no days that you won't be learning something new or won't be practicing something that you already know. So you end up having to use different techniques to learn different contents. And I think that's the most important thing, the only thing that actually is really good if you go to school. You can do this outside the school, but the school, you are basically forced to do that. So if you know how to use this thing to improve your life, if you know how to teach yourself, you'll be amazing. You'll be really successful. When I was younger, I used to get high grades in every exam. Every exam, I used to get only high grades. But how? How did I get high grades? I want to say I was quite intelligent. I still get high grades nowadays, but I used to get high grades by memorizing things. And I can easily say that, let me think, 99 of people do that in school. Not 99, but 98.5. So you've probably heard that many times, but yes, there's a difference between actually learning and memorizing. Okay, I don't want to be this teacher that says, study 1 week before the exam, or do that, just practice. I don't want to be like that. I just want you to understand what's the difference between memorizing and actually learning something. Because if you don't know the difference of this, you won't learn anything that is useful. That's why I think school is so useless sometimes, because you're just learning things that are won't use in your life. That's why you're just memorizing them. If you compare actually reading a book that's actually will be actually useful to your life, it's 99 times better. That's why I think school is really useless sometimes. Okay, continue with my story. So years went by, and things started getting harder. Normal school, you started getting harder contents and everything. But the difference was that instead of studying, I don't know, 30 minutes, I would have to study 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day for this particular exam. It was passing by, and instead of memorizing for 1 hour, I would memorize for 2 hours and memorize. After the exam, I would forget everything, would erase from my mind. So that was basically my days in school when I was younger. And as you can see, memorize is not a good thing. You need to learn. You need to actually learn things. So okay, quarantine. Everyone knows. If you had like online classes in quarantine, you probably didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I I'm a very disciplined person, so I actually studied in quarantine and paid attention in classes. But comparing the year before quarantine and quarantine, I, I didn't study at all. Basically, and my grades just, you know what happened. Yes. because I wasn't studying that much anymore. I wasn't memorizing that much anymore, and my grades went downhill really bad. So 1 year and a half went by, and I was back from quarantine into a new school. And then, because I wasn't in school, a new different place, I just decided to actually study a little bit more, just put on the effort. So I started getting my grades back, but not as good as I wanted to be, because I wasn't getting, I don't know, eights or nines. I was getting like seven, six. I was passing the exams, but I don't know, that wasn't me. Like, I was feeling, what's happening with me? I used to only get nines and tens. Now I'm getting seven, six. What's happening? Obviously, it's harder, but my memorizing technique wasn't working that much anymore. So 1 year went by, and I discovered the self-improvement. This with the same thing I see in that video. So after I discovered self-improvement, my discipline just improved and everything. But the most important thing, the thing that changed my life completely, was that I started reading books. So after starting reading books, I would read one or two. My first two books were kind of useless. Not useless, but I was reading them in a manner that I wouldn't understand very well. I was just reading, not practicing or putting to practice or thing that I learned. But in my third book, I started doing something. I started taking notes, and every time I was changing my notes more or less. So let me show you. Look, I have this thing here. Okay, I have this little notebook here. Now here at the back, I have some notes here. As you can see, it's written here at the top. You can focus. It's written the charisma method. That's one book of charisma of social skills that I read. That's really good. And that's one of there wasn't the first book that I started taking notes. The Power of Habit and everything. That wasn't the first book I started taking notes, but it was the book that I had most results from taking notes. I'm not saying for you to take notes, I'm saying that you need to know how to learn things. The best way for me to learn was taking notes and then teaching, basically. Taking notes, teaching, and seeing the results is more or less what I used to study and to understand things. So after this, I basically learned how to master my study times. I basically knew how I learned. The best way for me to learn to fix information in my brain was to take notes, then teach someone, and that's it. That's the reason why I created this YouTube channel. It's just that I'm teaching information that I get to you guys. For example, in my first two videos, the information was actually good, so they're literally in my head now. I'm not forgetting them anymore for the rest of my life. And then after this, I started getting high grades in school because I knew how to teach myself. I was getting only high grades studying for maximum 20 minutes. And that's how I'm continuing going today. I'm not studying that much, but on these little times that I'm studying, I'm learning so much that I barely have to study anymore because I learn a lot just by understanding my own type of study. So if you want to make the most out of your school times, if you're still in school or university, I don't know. Probably you can still do that. But okay, everyone knows there are two types of students. Everyone knows. The students that work, and those that don't work. The ones that work, basically, they don't have to be like intelligent. They just work. They try to do their homework. Maybe sometimes not. Maybe yes. They study for exams most of the times. They're trying to pay attention in classes, not 100%. But this ranges from, I don't know, students that get 7s and 8s and 6 maybe, and even under 2s, but they try, to students that, I don't know, get 10 in every exam. Basically, students that work. And the ones that don't work, you probably know them. The ones at the back of the class that are just talking. They don't pay attention in classes, they don't do the homework, they don't study, they get low grades. They maybe get high grades, but even though they're not learn, they're just good at memorizing. But there's a big difference between the ones that work and the ones that don't work. Just because you get low grades doesn't mean that you don't work. Just because you get high grades doesn't mean that you work. There are differences. And those differences are if you memorize things and if you learn things. Usually the ones that don't work are always trying to memorize or not even memorizing, just trying from the memory because they didn't study at all. And there are those who work, who even they're trying to understand, they're trying to learn, even though getting low grades and everything, they're building up discipline, building up habits, good habits, and they're trying. And if you compare the hobbies that those people that work and those people that don't work have, so people that work usually usually do things that are beneficial for their health. They usually do sports, they exercise, they learn something, they have good habits. And usually those people that don't work, they have bad habits, such as, I don't know, they always playing video games, they're always smoking, drinking, and everything. You probably know what I'm talking about. You can have in mind some people already. So if you're one of those people that don't work, so if you are one of those people that don't work at school at all, you don't pay attention, you're playing with your phone in class. I'm not saying school is like really useless in some aspects, I know. I'm not saying for you to study 2 hours a day. I'm just saying if you're staying in school for 5 to 8 hours more or less, why don't you make progress in this time that you're there? Because you spend probably most of your week in the school. So why don't you spend your time wisely there instead of just doing things that will benefit you in the short term? Do you understand what I'm saying? Even though it's not really useful, use the most of your time to try to learn something there that will be good for your future. There are many disadvantages of trying not to work at school. So you start doing many bad habits because you have to substitute this time that you're not studying, you're not learning, to all those things that I said earlier, playing video games, smoking, drinking, or just doing bad things for your health. And you lose the most important thing of school, that is learning how to learning how to cheat yourself. You're losing this. You're losing the opportunity to learn that. And in the future, you have to learn that in the future when you already need the knowledge or you need the time, but you don't have it. So use most of your time in the school. Try to actually, I'm not saying for you to do all the homeworks, but understand. If you want to study for exam, look at the exam, say, what's the best method for me to study? What can I do for improving my time, for improving my knowledge? Knowledge is really valuable. Really, really valuable. I'm not saying for you to learn how to teach yourself because for getting good grades in school. I'm saying because knowledge is important for you. Because you can learn many things. You get so much money and be respected by others because you have knowledge. It's really important for your future. So you need to learn how to teach yourself because you need knowledge. You need to have as much knowledge as you can. If you can gather a lot of knowledge using not too much of your time, that's perfect. So now ask yourself, how do you learn things the best? Some of you may have some ideas of taking notes, of listening, of watching videos on YouTube, but you have to try things out and actually understand which method is the best for you and spam this method. Use this method for everything, everything when you're trying to learn something new. So there are many ways for you to test this method. You can just get something in your school or anything, just read. Try to read to see if you can only read. If you need to read, take notes. If you need to read and speak, read out loud. If you need to do a presentation. If you need to draw, you need to do a dance or anything that can work for you. Understand which way is the best for you. As my final advice, I would say for you to start reading books. Start by reading some books that you like. For example, if you like psychology, start reading psychology books. If you like not science fiction, I would say it's a waste of time reading books that tell stories. So I'd say if you like science, read something about dopamine or anything, and test new ways of teaching yourself, of studying. Test new ways. For example, if you like reading and taking notes, try reading, taking notes, and drawings. If you think it's bad, if you think it make it harder for you to understand, just draw, read and then draw, or just read then do a presentation. Try new methods and see which one best suits you. And some different things may have different ways of learning. So maybe for psychology you like doing presentations, for science you like doing notes, for example. And that's basically it. That's all I have to say. And try to learn the best way for you to learn things. And good luck.